And welcome back to The Gist. I'm joined by Dr. Linda Wansi, and she's a mom of two and a pediatric dentist, and she is on fire with her faith, especially that call to the Eucharist. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Tell me a little bit about your reversion story. I know you're a cradle Catholic, but like most of us, we drift a little bit, but you came back.
Yes, like most cradle Catholic, being Catholic was like, hey, I'm Italian, or in my case, I'm Cameroonian American. It's just something that is part of your life. And that as I got older, didn't grow with me. It just kind of stayed. And so I drifted when I was in college. I went to college, dental school, did my first general residency as a general dentist. Came out of that program and realized that I checked all the boxes that the secular world tells you to check, and I still felt empty. And I think that was the beginning of God planting seeds in my life that year. It culminated in that Christmas season, God really calling me in a crazy way to receive the Eucharist. My mouth was watering for it. I did not know why. I hadn't gone to confession in a while, but I knew I had to. And so I found myself driving through the snow, like at 3 a.m. to make sure I could make it to the parish near my parents' home that was hearing confession on the 24th. And, you know, Christmas Eve, it's not often to find that. So I think God really was calling me. Long story short, I went to confession. I heard God telling me that I had to choose to walk towards him or the world. And I decided to go on a mission to find this God who called me through the snow and was telling me to follow him. And so in following the Eucharist and reading texts about the various Christian churches, I took upon myself the Catholic Church through a lot of prayer, reflection, studying, and it really felt different because it wasn't just the faith I had grown in and taken for granted. It was a faith that I now as an adult was really assuming as my own. And that was the beginning of my journey reverting and becoming a huge, passionate Catholic.
And I think it's really important that the two things you touched on, one, that you were empty. You know, you were out in the world, and we're all out in the world, and we're looking for what the world has to offer, but we always seem to come up empty with that. But also, you came back to this as an adult, which does make a difference, because I felt the same way in my life, that when I finally understood, oh, this is why my mother said this. Oh, like it made perfect sense. So, and that leads to the next part of the Eucharist. And I think there's a lot of Catholics, not their fault, but cradle Catholics who don't understand what we're talking about, that this is truly Jesus who we're receiving.
Yes, I think when we talk about the Eucharist, many Catholics would say it's the source and summit of our faith. And you can say that and you kind of glaze over it, but I can say I've lived that. It was the source that pulled me back into my faith when I was this doctor who was just like, I'm so intelligent. And I was very humbled by the writings of Thomas Aquinas, right? I was very humbled by the humility and simplicity of people like St. Faustina, and just the church teachings, not how Catholics live, because we many times can fall, but what the church is called to be like. When you look at the Eucharist and you look at Christ saying that I am there in the flesh under the appearance of bread, it's kind of wild, but a lot of things are wild, right? A little baby and all the things that have to happen for that child to be here, that's amazing. So a lot of things that we can't fully grapple with or understand doesn't mean that it's not true. And I think the Eucharist for me called me back in, and it's helped root me in my life through everything, whether it's been a tragedy in my life, whether it's been being scandalized by things in the church, like, you know, with racism coming up recently with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, I, as a Black Catholic and many other Black Catholics, started to feel like, is this church for us, like in the Western Catholic Church? Because it's not feeling very welcoming sometimes. But then we would remember, well, we're not Catholic because of this one lay person or this one priest, right? We're Catholic because Jesus Christ died for all of us. And Jesus Christ is found in the Eucharist. So yeah, that's important to me.
I think that's a huge point, because there are scandals in the church, and we see it all over the country. And, you know, you said racism, but also sexual abuse as well. And we have to remember that the Eucharist, Jesus, this is not Jesus' scandal. He died for each and every one of us. And this is evil, and we're called to cast that out as well. So that's a huge part. Now, I know that you also had a conversion on the issue of life. You're a mom of two little daughters. I know you're a very busy mom,
yes,
but you also had that conversion.
Gianna is named after Saint Gianna, and I gave birth to her. I went into labor on the feast day of Saint Gianna, and I picked that name 4 years prior. So I really, I love Saint Gianna. Emma Therese is my 3-year-old. She's my baby that really made me live out my pro-life beliefs. So in college, I was very pro-abortion. I wouldn't even talk to someone pro-life. I thought you were anti-woman, and I thought, how dare you tell a woman what to do? And so then after my conversion, I became very pro-life. And it's one thing to be pro-life and to be praying rosaries for the unborn and whatnot. It's another thing to be in a crisis pregnancy. And I experienced that. I went through, unfortunately, an abusive marriage, and I had to get out while pregnant with my second baby, Emma Therese, and Gigi was like a few months old. It's when you go through a crisis pregnancy, you begin to really have empathy. I was a pro-life person who used to sometimes even pray near the abortion centers. I began thinking, my church doesn't go to the center on Wednesday, so I'm going to go there. I was really, there was just fear. I was still pro-life, but I was afraid. And my mother told me on the phone, that is our baby. That's our baby. And so it's something I used to not want to share that story because, I want my daughter to hear that. But I think, this is a testimony. It's me as a woman who had gone through pain and suffering, and I was afraid. But even through all of that, with the help of my parents, with Jesus Christ being with me, of course, with a lot of prayer, I was able to make the right choice, which was to help keep my daughter. And she has value beyond me loving her or wanting her. She had value in general. But I also have empathy for women who are contemplating. I don't have condemnation for any woman contemplating abortion. I have love for her because I've been there, even as a pro-life person. And I can say, you know what? That child has value, you do too, and we as a community owe it to you to make it easier for you to have your child.
Amen.
So being pro-life isn't enough in word. It's the actions as well. It's creating programs and environments for that baby and for that woman to thrive. But yes, long story short, I'm very pro-life.
We need people to hear you all day, every day. You are so inspiring. I have goosebumps from all the different things that you're sharing. So where can people find you?
Yeah, so I can be found on Instagram. My name is Camerican Chick. It's C American Chick. I'm going to be resuming posting. I got busy with residency, but now that I'm more free, I'll probably be on there sharing more things about abortion, racism, my life, and just loving Catholicism and how it ties into my life.
Wow, God bless you. Thank you so much. God certainly gave you such an incredible calling, and I appreciate you sharing your ministry with us today. Take care.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.